I'm Ted, and you've got me on a real upswing this week. I've been told people are watching the podcast. That just shocks me in itself, and I appreciate that. And I have my producer Bing, but I'm Ted G, and this is the Real Ted G podcast. You can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, several other places, and of course Spotify. And I have my producer Bing.
Hello.
On the microphone. He inspired this podcast right now. I've been meaning to talk about something very specific, and Bing actually said something to me. He asked, what did you ask me, Bing?
Well, I said we were talking about how there's people that are in this industry, in your industry, that this is their only gig.
Well, you first asked me a very specific question. Actually, I think I told you. I said I think someone could make six figures just by hanging out with me this week because the phone, it's just been nonstop. People are obviously in the mood to liquidate. Clients are coming out of the woodwork everywhere from California all the way to Florida, and it's intense because this business, when you have the business, you have to do it. It doesn't matter if I'm showing houses like I am tonight. I'm showing a house at 7:30 at night. It's not even on the market. It's actually a friend's renovation. It's on the water. He has a price tag in mind. I have a client in mind. That's where you can just really dig up a lot of business. But I've been viewing homes for another client because they just need market analyses so they could see how much equity is in each home and see what they're going to do, whether they're going to sell, stay rented, etc. So it's been nonstop. It's been nonstop for much more than just a week. And I mentioned, I would need someone who knows what they're doing. But if they hung around me, there's probably just ancillary business that could be fun. But again, you see that in our industry, sometimes you don't see as many people working all the time, and I don't see as many people working the same definition I have when it comes to wanting to be very successful. So Bing, you asked me a question, and I said no, and then you asked a question. What'd you say? You said, is this their only gig?
Yeah.
Well, it's my only gig. Well, unless you count the podcast, that's my second gig. But yes, it's been my only gig for 20 years. And you said, is this their only gig? And I said, yeah, it is. And then you said,
I said the way I'd be hustling for money. I mean, you got to pay bills.
It's interesting that you said that. The way you'd be hustling. Well, and you take into account the understanding that we're commission based. So the more we hustle, the more we can earn. And real estate is not the easiest industry. The one thing I was told in this industry by a really, really cool dude 20 years ago, he was already probably about 60, and he said, his name was Bill, and he said, real estate, the only business I know that you could do everything right and still not get paid. And that holds true today. 20 years later, he was in the business for almost 15 or 20 years. He actually, I believe when I found the original paperwork of the house my parents bought 35 years earlier than I started real estate. Yeah, actually. No, that's impossible. 22 years earlier than I started real estate. Suddenly, I really did think I was 105. He actually was the selling agent. And you should have seen what he sold them. He was good. So he said, he said that fun phrase that I don't like to repeat too often. This is one of the few industries that you can do everything right and still not get paid. That's why you can't rely on one transaction. You have to obviously have multiple transactions in the works. You can't rely on one listing. You have to have a pipeline of new business that's able to come in. You have to know how to obtain new business, and you have to know how to get new business from your previous business, which is called referrals. So I'm not saying that it's easy for a new agent, and it's probably not easy for an existing agent either. It's just that, the way some people would be hustling, I'd like to meet those people. I like hustlers. I like it.
Well, it takes a certain, when it's commission based, and I've seen this a lot too in other commission based industries, where you pitch people you try to get people to do it, and they realize it's commission based, and you actually have to really hustle for the job. It's more than just a paycheck too. It's freedom and flexibility, and I think that's really lost on a lot of people.
And I understand the words. freedom and flexibility. And yes, in terms of freedom, you could decide to make no money, and you could decide to make a lot of money. I think the idea of the commission base can be scary, and it should be so limitless. You could look at it as, yeah, I'll work my ass off, and this week I didn't hand people one commission check. I've handed them 2 and 3.
Wow.
I mean, we're having, it's a great time in the market. Obviously, houses are selling, and no one can complain. But I can tell you that I've handed people 3 and 4 checks in a week. I've been handed, I think my best week ever was like 5 actual commission checks.
Wow.
In 1 week. So,
and the thing is too, it takes a lot of discipline to be commission based, because 1 week you could make $5,000, the next week you can make nothing. You have to set a very low.
Yeah. Oh, the idea of budgeting. Yes, I will say I am not the world's best budgeter. In fact, I could probably get an award for being the world's worst budgeter. I just feel there's always work that can be done, and you can always create and generate, and so budgets fly out the window sometimes with me.
I see. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. I you know what it is for me? I'm very good at budgeting and telling myself no, but it's very difficult, and sometimes I really, like, for me, honestly, sometimes I like to go out to eat, man. Like, that's just my thing. And I'll get the check and I'm like, damn, I really shouldn't have done that. But it's like, you also got to live too. So it's like,
yeah. Well, here's the thing. I have a couple of phrases that I obviously have ingrained in my head. I forget how it goes, but I like to work so hard that I don't worry about looking at a price tag. That's and the reason someone to have that, you have to work really hard. I don't care what anyone says. But back to my original question that you brought up the question, and it's just now going to affect my brain for probably 48 hours.
Okay.
What makes someone hustle? What makes someone want to hustle? It's obviously,
I mean,
if you know that if you hustle, you earn, you make money, you'd think it'd be a simple formula.
It's got to be like more than that. Like, for me, I know the value of $1 when I was a young kid. When I was very young, my family didn't have a lot of money. My dad is still in a commission-based business, and he's doing really good now. But when we were a young family, it was very difficult. And I just saw the value of $1, and I started working as soon as I could. I was shoveling driveways at like 10 years old, 11 years old, just to make money. I would sell gum in school, and then I got a job when I was like 15. And I just knew that, like, I needed to work to have a decent life, and the more money I had. But my theory was, like, and I realized this in high school, I was like, if I work my ass off now, I could have money going into college, and if I work in college, I'll have money when I get out of college. And I did. And that put me ahead of a lot of people and let me experience things that most people would not want to do. Like, I got to go on some vacations. I got to go travel. I could go out to eat with my friends, and it wasn't really a big deal. A lot of people that I did hang out with when I was in high school and college, they didn't have money, or they had to ask their parents for money. I didn't have to do that. I was sustainable. Yeah. So I knew the value of $1 and what money could do for me.
So does that make you hustle?
Yeah, absolutely, because you need to make money.
So tell me, how are you hustling?
How am I hustling? Well, what I do is I make sure I do a very good job for all of my clients, and I always make sure that I'm looking forward into the future. I have very loose goals where I want to be in 6 months and a year from now, and I'm working on making them more firm. But I'm always looking for the next sale, the next person that wants a job done, or...
You look for it? Here, I'll give you a coaching tip.
Okay.
Direct from me to you.
Okay.
I've coached some very successful people. And I don't know if I coach them on sales or if I coach them on real estate, or some of them I just pick out their ties and their suits. But
I might need your help with that.
I think everyone could use my help with that. Oh, that might be wrong. So, well, anyway, I'll give you a little tip. For instance, you never know where the hustle where the hustle is going to hit. You know, like one of the reasons I am very busy right now is because a person that I've interacted with on in the industry, but on a different level through title reports, title searches. She actually introduced me to a great client. So that's great, you know. So here's my advice to you, because you're doing these podcasts for me. Well, we're doing them together. I've been watching Suits now, Suits on Netflix, and I'm totally into that whole, sidekick vibe right now.
Nice.
So you're going to actually meet a few people through. We've had guests on, but today you're going to actually have a guest that probably will think about, you know, who to do for podcasts, what to do. They have a slightly different Instagram approach or social media approach than I do.
Okay.
But I definitely am feeling these podcasts, Bing. I have to tell you, I'm
awesome.
I'm enjoying doing them, even the boring one. And we all know which one I'm talking about. Although some people might tell me, I think they're all boring, Ted.
They're not all boring, but I'm glad you're having fun with these, because that's also one of the reasons I got into business too in this industry.
Wait, I got to make my point.
Oh, make a point. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go.
I believe, and the approach I would say to anyone, especially all my agents, I just got a great referral from Pennsylvania, and they're selling their house in Chicago and buying something very nice here on the water. And I asked, I told them, I said, "Oh, thank you for the referral. It's greatly appreciated, and don't worry, I'm going to treat them like family." And if you do that, if you're across the board consistent and work with a level of integrity and some real sincerity, I guess, it always works out. We call it karma. We call it, whatever we call it, the cosmic universe, faith, it always works out. And it's amazing that works out. One of my next podcasts, we're going to do a little in-depth vibe with the principles of cause and effect.
Okay.
And it's a great book, and it just talks about doing things in a certain way. And if you're consistent and you're always doing, and that's not the word of doing what's right, I'm, doing what's ethical. Of course, all those come into play, but, first of all, if it feels right, it probably is right. So, and again, you're going to do a nice job for my podcast, and you're going to meet different people, and you're going to meet a person that probably has to kind of, elevate their game and maybe do this approach, because they're a very well informed person in their industry, and this might be something that they can actually, use as an outlet. I'm using it as therapy right now. So.
It can be therapeutic.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, maybe we say one or two things that someone needs to hear, and maybe someone's going to say, yeah, I'm not hustling as much as I should be. I should take all the opportunities that are in front of me, and let me get there and hustle. And hopefully that person is someone that works for me, because then we can catapult them to superstardom. So anyway, Bing. So that's my advice. Just continue what you're doing, pretty much, is what I'm saying, I guess.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
In a weird roundabout compliment to you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're welcome. And I've gotten complimented on the podcast. One of our other guests is actually, he complimented me, and he said, yeah, great. He said, podcasts are looking good. So he's also a person who's involved with filming and filmography.
Oh,
and
that's excellent.
Yeah. And I said, wait a minute. Do you mean the content, or do you mean the visual aspect? So, visual aspect, I take it for granted that it has to do with the way you position the camera and the quality of the camera. And he actually said both. So let's go. So it was a compliment to both of us.
That's excellent. Yo, Team Ted G podcast
Hustle.
Coming out.
And I don't know what I'm feeling these days, but I'm definitely feeling a little different.
After doing the podcast.
Yes, I think it's the interaction. I think it's I'm enjoying the interaction, and I guess that's an old real estate or an old sales rule. If you're not sitting with if you are not sitting with a decision maker, should you be sitting? And indirectly, we'll call it by accident, we'll call it by not planned, but maybe it was, indirectly, we're suddenly sitting with decision makers. We're sitting and having nice discussions. You don't have to say, are you going to buy a house, to every single person you meet. Although as a new agent, might be something you might want to consider doing. You don't have to say that. You just have to engage in a conversation. Be well informed. I spoke to one of my agents, her son, a really successful gentleman. He owns 3 different medical practices, and we're just having a conversation about his next steps. He's thinking about an apartment in Manhattan. He's thinking about this. He knows what he's going to do with the condo he's buying. He's just a person in daily life. And does that mean that he's going to say, "Oh, here, Ted, here's more business"? No, but 2 years from now, 7 years from now, 5 years from now, he's in the market, or colleague of his, he's going to say, "Call my agent." The way he talks about the other people around him, whether it's his finance person, his accountant, his lawyer, he says, "Call my accountant, call my lawyer." Well, anyway, so doing things in a certain way is a motto that's in the book, The Principles of Cause and Effect, and I will go over a few more tips from that book. In fact, that'll be the one single podcast. Tips about this book that can change your life, change your surroundings, and it will actually it can change things overnight. Just a different way of looking at things. Instead of what can I get out of this, what can I give to this? What can I get out of a situation versus what can I give to a situation?
And that's the cool thing about what we do too, is that this podcast it gives an outlet to do that, and it's a creative outlet, where it allows you to talk about these things. Because at least I'm just thinking about what you said before, where this is therapeutic for you. I feel the same way, because when I got into podcasting, I wanted to be an artist initially, and I just wasn't able to express myself through paint and drawing the same way I was able to by speaking. Yeah. So this ended up becoming my art form.
Well, I think that if someone gets to a point in their industry or in their career where they love it so much, and it just can enhance their own life and obviously the lives of people around them, I think we should call it art. I call the pictures my photographer takes art. I think the pictures my headshot photographer takes, I consider those art. Especially, they're both very creative individuals. So oddly enough, I try to surround myself with a lot of creativity, because I think I probably lack in that regard. Much like I talk like a robot.
Not. Have you seen how this podcast studio has changed in the last month?
Oh, I'm paying you, so you can't compliment me. Well, anyway, I consider them artists because I just feel like what they bring to the table. And I'm not going to say that I make real estate art, but on some level, I do try to make it fun. So I don't think any of my clients can say that they haven't laughed. And they haven't, now, and the good part is several of my clients will say that they enjoyed the experience. And if I did a little more of my real down-to-earth work, which is get people to do their reviews, ask for reviews, I would hope I would hear more of that it was enjoyable. In fact, I'm going to do that this weekend. My clients are going to be getting emails, and it's going to say, "Please write a review."
And ask them if they want to be on the podcast.
And I will ask them. I ask almost everybody.
Really?
Back to hustle. I think I've asked almost everybody. I ran into a personal shopper for Saks, Fifth Avenue, and
yes.
I did ask him to be on the show because he informed me of 2 things. Somebody a while back told me that V-necks are out, and he very much said they are not. So I said, okay, good to know.
Who said V-necks are out?
I can't tell you.
Oh, God.
And then he's the person that said, what's the next trend? He said, well, everybody's noticing that pink is in. Pink is the thing. So thanks to the Barbie movie, obviously. So that's why we did the pink curtains. But the pink curtains have to go, unfortunately, because they're absorbing too much light. I never had that problem.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so we'll see. I found a new pattern. I'll see how they look next week. And I know I keep glancing over to you. Maybe I'll perfect the camera next. I'm going to keep looking. Anyway, back to hustle. I have 3 guests scheduled. So that wraps up this podcast. Thank you for joining me. I'm Ted. and this is the Real Ted G Podcast. Find us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and TikTok.